In this video, I want to share with you a lot of things that are absolutely necessary for having a conscious relationship. I'm speaking dominantly right here about intimate relationships, but a lot of these are principles that will connect to basically every relationship that you have in your life. Of course, not every single one of them, but nonetheless, there's a lot of interconnectivity going on here. In many ways in our society, we're seeing the breakdown of tradition and the things that used to work aren't really working. There's new problems that the old solutions aren't going to fix, and relationships are a part of this. We're kind of growing as a species to the point where we need to have conscious relationships in order to really maintain our survival as a species. We're being urged to raise our consciousness. We're being urged to move beyond just the ego, to extend our sense of care to the environment, to a whole bunch of stuff. Don't want to get too off topic so fast. But in essence, we're seeing something that we've never seen before. There's not a lot of teachers to teach about conscious relationships. I mean, nowadays there are, but it's a very new thing actually, right? We don't have a lot of examples when we look at our modern culture. So it's relatively new, relatively. And in this video, I'm going to just outline some core things that are absolutely needed for this. It's extremely beneficial. On top of that, I have a free book list. You can check it out, links in the description. Read the relationship books on that book list. They will help you a lot. Just read the whole book list. But if you're interested in relationships, just read the relationship one. Got a sense of humor. So first is a deep commitment to the actual development of consciousness within humans. Humans are an aspect of universal consciousness, and consciousness is recognizing itself through humans. There's a sort of development to humans that is kind of leading us towards the deep recognition of really who and what we are and what this reality actually is. So in order to actually have a deep conscious relationship, there has to be a commitment to the development of consciousness itself. If you want to learn more about this, go to the consciousness and spirituality section of my book list. Check out books like Emptiness Dancing by Adyashanti. Check out Spiral Dynamics, right? Things like this. Spiral Dynamics is in the psychology section. But in essence, there has to be a commitment to the development of your own consciousness, your own self-actualization, your own self-transcendence, things like this. And without this, of course, you're not really going to have a conscious relationship because you're not working on raising your own consciousness. You're not putting any effort or any care into yourself. Moving on is a commitment to investigating the inner world. This goes hand in hand with raising your consciousness. But I mean this more in the sense of kind of doing shadow work, doing deep psychological work on yourself. So I got a therapy and healing section of my book list. Very good, very, very useful. Look into your emotional wounds, the patterns of relationships, attachment styles that you have. Look into your shadow, right? Got a really good book, Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark. Check out that one. Highly, highly valuable. A lot of these books you can get for like $3. Lucas, why is your coaching so expensive? You don't need coaching, right? High value stuff is, of course, very expensive, right? My coaching is highly concentrated. I got a lot of rare skills. I can attune to people very well. I'm very present with them. I'm very dedicated. Read literally hundreds of books. Been doing this kind of work for like 7 years. All right, so I charge a good price. You can get high quality resources for very cheap. I literally have a free course for discovering your life's purpose. I have a free book list of absolutely life-changing material on it that you can get for some of these books as little as like $3 getting them used, right? And if you have to spend 10 to 20 bucks on a book, can you see how that investment is worth it? Can you see how actually using that information to transform your mind and your consciousness and your life, this is worth way more than $15 to $20. You need that recognition, that intuition, that little vision, right? So a commitment to investigating the inner world, right? Being able to recognize your shadow, be honest about it, call it out, call it your reactivity, be your own whistleblower, things like this. Moving on is a commitment to your personal needs and an ability to assert them when needed. Learn to actually feel your own personal needs. You can feel them in the body. They actually have sensations, energy, right? For example, when you get hungry, you feel that you are hungry. Your stomach growls, and then when you're not getting that need met, it's painful. And then to eat is pleasurable, right? So get clear about what your needs are. Right? Write them down. I need to feel productive. I need to feel connected to other people. I need to exercise. I need to stretch. I need to meditate, read, self-actualize, self-transcend, etc. Whatever your personal needs are, Write them down, get clear about them, get very familiar with the feeling of them, right? Meditate, get into your body, develop that connection to your body. And then learn how to assert yourself in order to get those needs met. Now, by assert here, I don't mean force yourself or impose yourself upon anyone. What I mean is just learning how to speak them and then go after them in ways that don't harm other people. Right? You're not like bulldozing people, but you care enough about yourself to recognize your need, to get in contact with those parts of you, and then to fulfill the need in a healthy way, to set boundaries and to protect your needs. Right? To say no when you have to say no, using your no firmly and strongly in order to actually just protect yourself, right? So that you can actually enjoy yourself, so that people aren't overstepping, right? They're not, pushing themselves onto you. A lot of people in life will actually push themselves onto you, not because they're evil or nefarious or any of this kind of stuff, or they're narcissists, but because they don't know that they're doing it. You haven't told them. You don't say no. You don't have boundaries. You let them do it repeatedly to the point where it's normalized. Right? And then, when there's a problem and you explode, they don't know why. Because you've let them do it over and over and over again. It's the norm. Right? You failed to set boundaries. You failed to get into contact with a vital need that you have. And of course, when your needs go unmet, you get sick. Emotions and psychological, stuff builds up. And then it can just kind of like explode. So avoid that. Get in contact with your needs. Right? Learn to assert yourself when needed. Moving on is actually a little bit on the other side of the spectrum. It's a commitment to the needs of your partner and an ability to see them as your own needs. So a conscious relationship involves seeing your partner as self, moving beyond just myself as a separate organism and recognizing the oneness and interconnectivity of life. Recognizing that your partner is literally an extension of self. So when they don't get their needs met, you're not getting your needs met. When your partner is not doing well, you're not doing well. It means that your sense of identity, your sense of ego, your sense of personal self has to expand to include them, which is often difficult because that brings up a lot of emotional wounds and personal limitations. Right? So you have to actually extend your care to your partner's needs, inquire into them, help them get clear about their needs, actually ask them, like genuinely care, genuinely give it attention, right? And I think also a good point to mention is that you guys should have some regular check-ins about this kind of stuff, right? So you can get clear about this on what you guys need, what you guys struggle with, right? A safe space to actually be vulnerable, which is a point later on that I have. But in essence, you're getting clear about each other's needs. You're learning to care about them. You're learning to assert them. You're learning to respect the needs of the other, etc. Moving on is a commitment to seeing your partner as self and not other. Like I just said, they become included in your sense of who you are. So separation is an illusion. Sorry to spoil that one for you. But in order to have a truly conscious relationship, this deeply involves ego transcendence, self-transcendence, deep self-actualization work as well, which involves moving beyond the illusory ego to recognize the very nature of reality through, the two of flesh, right? I got a good book back here, Finding God Through Sex by David Data. Essentially, what that kind of refers to is that you're finding the actual essence of creation through the union that you've created with your partner. Right, so I won't go into too much on that one, but whatever. Next is a commitment to being grounded in the present and non-reactive. Right? A conscious relationship means that you're able to be in the present with the other and not just react according to your own emotional wounds. Now, there's no problem with having emotional wounds, right? You don't got to be shamed for having emotional wounds. The thing is, though, is that this is something you got to kind of proactively work on, like I mentioned earlier. And you need to build up that capacity to be present, to be aware of your emotional wounds and to heal them and just literally be in the presence of the other in a completely not distracted way as well. I think there's a lot of distractions in the modern world. I talk about it all the time. Learn how to just be with the other, just exist with them without even needing to do anything, to just be in the presence of the other person until that sense of boundary begins to collapse because you're both so present and attuned to each other. Life doesn't feel so static and rigid and fixed. It feels more fluid. So meditation is very good for that. Self-inquiry, the work of Ramana Maharshi, right? Mix that with a lot of relationship stuff like John Wellwood, for example, The Journey of the Heart. Fantastic book. Moving on is a commitment to seeing and healing childhood wounds, emotional wounds, and the pain of unmet needs. Like I mentioned, I'll actually skip that because I've talked about it quite a bit. Next is a commitment to creating a safe space. The space is safe physically and emotionally. This means that there's a roof over your head, there's food, you guys can get a lot of these basic needs met, it's warm enough for you guys to exist, right? There's enough money to keep, the rent, to pay the rent, to pay the bills, etc., right? You're not physically violent with each other. These all matter. And next is emotional safety. The ability to not judge the other, to not always criticize them, to not manipulate them, to not exploit them, to respect them, to allow them to be vulnerable. And when they're vulnerable, you don't attack. You don't use that to exploit. That'll completely fuck up your relationship. Being vulnerable implies that you're being authentic. You're like removing a lot of guards, and you want to actually care about that in your partner. You want to actually reinforce in their mind that it's safe for them to let go and just settle into your presence, that your presence is safe. Especially if you're a man interacting with a woman, a very feminine woman, this is needed. She will not actually be sexually attracted to you. She will not want to have sex with you if she does not feel safe with you. So you have to learn how to actually attune to her emotional needs, her emotional self, and not treat her like a problem to be solved, but learn how to be present, learn how to listen, learn how to just be with her, be a pillar of support. And learn how to do that for your man as well. Learn how to allow him to feel safe, to just be vulnerable, to be open. Right? Learn how to actually make him feel loved and supported as well. Recognize that you guys are two human beings. You're not just ways in which you get your needs met, right? This is a major theme of very unconscious relationships, which is most relationships around planet Earth. You're not just two beings that are alive just to make more security and have more sex with, and just get your survival needs met. You're two human beings, right? You're not just means to an end, right? You're not just each other's means to an end. Right? You're two human beings who need to coexist and evolve together and raise your consciousness together and realize what is true, good, and beautiful together. Right? So the space has to be safe emotionally. Right? You have to learn how to deeply listen, deeply attune. Right? Not just wait to speak and then interrupt. Just allowing them to say what they have to say, fully receiving, and then responding accordingly. A deep attunement to the energy exchange that you feel when you're interacting with them. There's always an energy exchange to life. Pay attention to the pure feeling of experience and learn how to actually make it feel open and, accepting and caring. Right? Moving on is a commitment to moving beyond walls and guards and into vulnerability, open sharing, non-judgment, and presence with each other. I basically just said this, so I'm not going to go into too much more depth, but all this stuff implies that if you're really good at this stuff, it's going to imply that you've done a good bit of meditation, you've done some shadow work, you've done some deep psychological, emotional, spiritual work on yourself. Your body's physically well. You're eating your fruits and veggies. You're stretching your body. You're exercising. So it's really just taking good care of yourself. And then essentially all I'm really saying here is to learn how to get your needs met. Learn to identify what your needs are. Learn to get them met. Right? Learn to self-actualize. Read Toward a Psychology of Being by Abraham Maslow, the man who coined the term self-actualization. He explains it very well. Books like Transcend, The New Science of Self-Actualization, Spiral Dynamics, right? Just check out the books in my book list. Very, very valuable, right? Just go on there and intuit which one is best for you. That's all I'm going to say about that one, right? So a commitment to moving beyond walls and guards and into vulnerability, open sharing, non-judgment, and presence. And without this, it's not going to be an emotionally safe space. You need to create that emotional safety, especially if you're a man. Right? Men struggle with this a lot. If you're a man, learn how to create emotional safety for your woman so that she can feel contained, so that she can feel safe. And this is going to allow her nervous system to relax, to get out of fight or flight, This is how she's going to be attracted to you. This is how she's going to feel connected to you. This is how she's going to give to you. Counterintuitively, when you give her that safety, that security, when you give to her, she gives back to you. When you give to him, he gives back to you. Right? Assuming that, the people you're interacting with aren't narcissists and extremely toxic. The word narcissist is used a lot nowadays. In reality, narcissists are extremely rare. People deeply overuse it. My ex was a narcissist, X, Y, and Z. It's deeply overused. So, in essence, I'm assuming that the people you're interacting with are safe enough, right? And they're committed to having conscious relationships. The people who you interact with and choose need to be interested in this kind of stuff too. Right? You're not going to force your worldview on them. You're not going to force them to be more conscious. Right? So make sure that the people you're choosing align with you. Right? You have a choice in this. That's it for this video. If you're interested in working one-to-one with me, you can apply to do so. Link is in my pinned comment. Take it easy.